Please stand if you're able for the reading of the gospel. Hear the gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ according to John. Glory to you, O Lord. 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. There they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at the table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of the disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ.
I always want to say, please be seated, but people always beat me to it. As many of you will know, or some of you will know at least, I'm quite stressed at the moment. Two things particularly have been affecting me: the accident which happened about 2 months ago, where it's still not resolved and I'm going to maybe have to admit liability in some way, and it's a very stressful time. And then the camper van, which some people saw the pictures of last week, turned out to be, well, possibly a scam, but certainly fraudulent things, and the person's refusing to give me my deposit back. So that adds up to the stress and everything else, and that may have to go to the lawyers as well. And I met with the lawyers on Friday. So it's been a very stressful time, and I'm conscious of the way my body is reacting, that there's stress. Well, Jesus went to Bethany 6 days before the Passover, it says. And we just go, read that and think, okay, 6 days before the Passover. But actually it was 6 days before the Passover when he would be crucified. It was the day before Palm Sunday. For when we read on in the Gospel, the next day it says, the next day Jesus entered into Jerusalem. He went to the home of Mary, his friends Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. And he probably knew what was happening. I'm certain he did. Because he knew what was the path that led before him. He knew he was on that road into Jerusalem. And we know that he struggled with that too, for when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, 5 days later, he would pray, "Lord, if this cup can be taken from me, let it be taken. But your will be done and not mine." So I think we can quite easily conclude that Jesus on that night in Bethany was quite stressed as well. Well, Mary came with her perfume, poured it on Jesus' feet, and washed his feet with her hair. Oh, there's someone else coming in. Chris is joining us as well. So, Jesus was there in the home of Lazarus and Mary and Martha. And he was there, but probably quite stressed. Mary was there, and she came up to Jesus, and she washed his feet with her hair. She poured perfume on his feet. Why was she doing that? That perfume was expensive. It says 300 more than 300 denarii. 300 denarii is, well, 1 denarii was a working man's wage for the day. And so 300 denarii was like a year's wages, a year's minimum wage. So whatever country you come from, you can work out how much that would be. It's a lot of money. Jesus was there. And Mary showed her devotion and her love by washing his feet. Was that a thing? Was it a thing that people did when they wanted to show devotion, that they would wash someone's hair with their feet? Wash someone's feet with their hair? I got it the wrong way round again. Washing someone's feet with their hair. Was that something that people would regularly do, or not regularly, but on occasions to show real devotion? Or was it something completely unique? I know it happened to Jesus twice with two different women, but maybe it was something which was particularly special. A showing of devotion, of love, of worship even. In the West, we live in a very equal society, where we tend to see ourselves as being no better, no worse than someone else. That phrase, respect your betters, that we used to use in English, we don't really use anymore. Even if you were to meet the Queen of England, you'd be probably very respectful, but you would shake her hands. You wouldn't lie down prostrate on the floor before her, because that's not the way we do things anymore. It used to be that if someone was a lord, you'd be bowing and scraping, that even if someone was higher up than you, you'd doff your cap to them. That doesn't happen in the West. We're much more egalitarian, equal. Maybe it happens more in Thailand, where when you wise somebody, you have to know if they're higher or lower status than you to see who wise first. And of course, the way the royal family is respected is quite different than the way we perhaps do in the West. But it is more like the society that Jesus lived in. And we know from Thai society how much the head is respected and the feet are not, so that you can't point your feet at someone. As I said in my email, when I was in Egypt, there was someone I knew who worked for the Bible Society, and he had a photo showing, not a photo, but an illustration, a children's book showing Jesus teaching. And he had his legs crossed, and his foot was pointing at some of the people. And they said, we can't have that in the Egyptian Arabic edition. It's so rude. Jesus would never have done that. So they had to get permission to redraw the leg so that it was pointing downwards, and the rest of the picture was fine. There was a big thing about heads and feet, as there is in Thailand, and there was in Jesus' time. So whereas we might be lying somewhere on a beach and put our head on someone's feet and they don't think anything of it, it was a big deal that someone would lower themselves to put their hair in their head and wash someone's feet. It showed respect. And respect is important, though it can be abused. But it showed more than respect. It showed love and devotion. That's what Mary was doing. So stress is something which we often think of applying to high-powered businessmen, rushing around the world and stressed with all these multi-million-pound deals they have to do. But all the survey, all the research into stress has shown that the most stressed people are actually the poor. The ones who don't know how to make the ends meet, the ones who are wondering how they're going to survive to the end of the week or how they're going to pay for that next meal for their children. Those are the people who really suffer from stress, and those are the people who actually die younger from heart disease and so on because of the stress they are under. Of course, we see the situation in Ukraine and the war which is continuing there, and also much closer to us in Myanmar. How much stress are those people under? We have that term PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And we tend to put that as a separate thing, but actually it's still just part of stress. It's stress that comes later after you're out of the stressful situation. But it's stress nonetheless. As the energy bills go up around the world, there'll be more and more people who are stressed by their financial difficulties. My dad was ill when he died about 4 years ago. And he had a blood disease which affected his body. But what was affecting him more was actually stress. He was getting stressed about the smallest of things. Things that really there was no reason to be stressed about, but he was stressed, and that really affected his quality of life. Stress is a serious thing. It's a real thing. But it's also something that's inside us. It's something which, to a certain extent, we have control over. There are treatments you can do, actions you can do, breathing exercises, meditation. But more than anything else, as Christians, we can turn to God and trust in God. Perfect love casts out all fear, Jesus said, and we can say the same with perfect love casts out all stress. Mark, it says perfect love, and none of us have perfect love, so we'll never get rid of all stress. But trusting in God is an antidote to being stressed and in a stressful situation. We won't be perfect at it. I don't think Jesus was perfect at it. After all, it says he sweated drops of blood in the Garden of Gethsemane. He was under deep stress. And if Jesus suffered from stress, even though he had faith in God too, then we will also never give a situation where we don't feel stressful at all because we're trusting in God. We don't need to feel guilty if we're feeling stressful and think we shouldn't be because God is with us. Yes, God is with us, but we will still have those natural reactions, even as Jesus did. So we should help each other. Jesus probably felt alone. But the devotion of Mary washing his feet, this being surrounded by his friends in that meal, probably, I'm sure, brought him comfort. The knowledge that he was not forgotten, the knowledge that he was not alone. And so we can help each other, we can be kind to each other, we can embrace each other, and we can let each other know that whatever we're going through, we're not alone. Just as Mary did. Judas didn't understand this at all. He said the money's been wasted, it could have been given to the poor. He didn't realize the importance of Mary's action. But Jesus' answer was very strange. He said, where does it say it? Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial." So did Mary know? Had Jesus told her that he would be going to the cross in a few days' time? And she didn't save it to the day of his burial, she gave it first. Maybe there's something we can learn from that too. Not to wait in expressing our love till someone is dead, but do it now. Tell them how much we love them, how much we care for them. So trust in God. Show love to each other. Show love to God and to each other. Tell people what they mean to you. And leave stress behind as much as you can. For God is with us. So we should be at peace. Amen.